I suppose I'll have to rid of you myself, you filthy feline. I'm Anthony.
I'm Damon.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Dr. Kurtzstead.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 162 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we come here to talk about comic books. In this particular issue, we will have club discussions for Inkblot issue number 4 and Batman The Adventures Continue issue number 7. Then we'll jump into some weekly reviews, which we're going to go all around the internet here, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. And we have a very special letters page this week. This is the episode before the Christmas holiday. Which comic book character would you want to get in a secret Santa exchange, and what would you buy them? So we will answer that later on in the show, so you can start thinking of your answers. We will do all of that in this week's issue. All right. But we're going to kick off first here with Inkblot issue number 4. In the time of ancient Egypt, sorcerers roamed the sands in search of the end of the earth. Lost, they turned to an ancient monster to be their guide. All right, this is sort of an anthology series in a way. You know, it's all kind of strung together by a certain cat, time-traveling cat, as we'll find out. But ultimately, this series is about a girl who was working in like a library. She was writing down the history of her family and the wars and all this kind of stuff, and making all the record books and all that kind of stuff. And then she had dozed off, much like David, the co-host here at Crimson Cowl, knocked off the inkwell off of her table, and this magical cat appeared and opened up these dimensions. And throughout these issues each month, we are getting this cat jumping into all of these crazy adventures. And so each issue almost is a standalone issue, very welcoming for new readers, while it does has this overarching plot of the cat. And then we'll see that more in this issue as we kind of return to our original main character from that first issue. So this one, as the synopsis had suggested, dealing with ancient Egypt, located on Mother Earth, by the way. I knew there was an extra detail in that narration box. As we see a group of people are coming up against a giant sphinx, and we see that they're trying to trade, and kind of they have a deal that's going on, and somehow the cat gets thrown into all this as well. So that's kind of the overall idea of this issue. What we will do for the club discussion here, kind of jump into some of these moments and talk about what we liked. What's always fun about this is that we kind of jump into new scenarios each time. We're kind of thrown into the middle of other people's stories, and this one being this leader kind of leading his people and leading his family to something that we have yet to discover, but suddenly they are halted as we see the giant. And do we have a name for this sphinx? Do they ever give it a name?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's just the Sphinx.
No, they don't. That we get a.
So yeah, that's where we kind of start off, is meeting this giant sphinx. So any thoughts and comments on jumping into this world with these characters? Anyone want to kick it off?
I was a little confused on this one because I didn't catch up on what was going until the very end, where it basically reveals what was going on with the time travel kind of thing. So it's like, these kind of resemble the characters we've seen before, but they don't exactly meet up with what we know. And then when you get to the end and find out that time travel is involved, well, that makes sense. But so yeah, I was kind of a little lost reading the whole book until I get to the end, and it's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it was
quite. But otherwise, the story was great. It was a fun adventure. Coming up to this Sphinx in the desert and doing some power against it and blasting it away.
And they're trying to offer something up, and it's kind of funny when one of the people here, takes out his blade and steals a little barrel or a sack or something from somebody, and then we see those glowing green and yellow eyes that we're have become so fond of as we see this is where the cat is, and suddenly I like the right away that we had the big entrance of the Sphinx and very gorgeously drawn, and it's got all this awesome stuff coming out of the sand, but I like its dialogue in response to the cat of just saying this gift is absurd.
Well, it's pretty cruel. They were willing to offer the cat up for, here you go. You can have this cat.
We don't know where it came from. It doesn't belong to any of us, but you can have it.
And things are not going to go well when they offer the cat to
yeah. Instead, the Sphinx is requiring the staff that our leader is holding and wielding. As we see when it rises out of the sand, it's got some glowing magic kind of spinning around it, and but he's not real ready to offer it up as he challenges it, say, "Come get it." That's where we've have an awesome splash page here of it leaping out. I haven't read too many ancient Egyptian stories and giant sphinx and stuff, but is this a very typical thing of having it become so lifelike beyond the statue form? Do we know anything from other fiction?
Yeah, another fiction it does. When it comes to life, it's very animated. I mean, because usually if you don't answer the riddle, it kills you.
That makes sense now, because I recently had played and conquered the Mario Odyssey game for Nintendo Switch, and now that makes sense because I would come across a couple Sphinx and I had to answer some very easy riddles for Nintendo audiences.
Yeah. Actually, I knew it was a time travel story when I got to this particular panel, because there you see the main character in the past. She's the bookworm who's writing on the back of the wagon there. So that's a past version of herself. That's
okay.
Right away when I hit that, I go, oh, we're in this time travel thing now. And that never turns out well.
Especially when it's all relying on a cat. So.
As far as the Sphinx, I think the Sphinx is a little more active than I usually see them. I think the Sphinx is my personal impression of a Sphinx usually is they deal with you through magic rather than sheer violence too. But
yeah,
this one seems to have both.
Yeah,
I mean, you also have one in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Katie, any thoughts on Inkblot issue number 4 here?
Certainly. I need to enjoy the series. Very beautifully done. I appreciate it as a piece. I thought Ancient Egypt was a really great life that. I thought it was funny when they offered the cat to the Sphinx, because I'm like, oh, they're going to be buddies. And the Sphinx will be like, look, it's like me. And then they'll be friends. I wasn't thinking like the cat is like, or the Sphinx is going to do mischief to the cat. That was even more funny when the Sphinx is like, are you kidding? I've seen so many better offerings than that. That poor little cat, I tell you what, is always getting an intro. This time, I don't think it was his fault. I did like that it tied back to the young woman we saw in the first story, and that she is not just going to be like our omniscient narrator. She will actually have a part in this story. So I liked that. I enjoyed that part, and that she's making the connections as well. I don't think I have anything too deep to say. I really like it. I'm so glad we picked this as a club pick, and can't the next one.
Yeah, there's a great scene where the Sphinx is attacking as the leader is kind of protecting everybody with the staff. Although there is somebody in their team And I think it's is it the one that originally stole the cat? Am I mistaken on that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, who basically gets caught in a very gruesome scene here, as we're showing on the YouTube version of a giant claw decapitation going on there. That was
Yeah.
that might be the most. I mean, I'm trying to think back to the other issues, but this might be the most graphic scene we've seen in these issues. Am I mistaken on that?
Pretty close,
Oh,
I
you're
think.
correct.
Yeah.
Close, yeah.
So yeah, that just kind of added a level. You know, it was one of those perfect, turning the page moments of like, oh boy, there we go. And then the cat just resting there, meow, sitting on the remains of the body. So
Well, I'm wondering if part of what they're establishing in the story too is wherever the cat goes, terrible stuff happens. I mean, so in issue 3, the dragon attacked a bunch of people because the cat just showed up and landed on the dragon, and suddenly you had everything kind of go south. And I'm as I remember, having a little more trouble remembering what happened in like issue 2, but it seems like everywhere it pops in, something awful happens.
I think 2 was the dragon, and then 3 was Nessie, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm wondering if there's somehow this cat just wherever it lands warps reality and makes things not good.
And
He's so cute though, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, and
And
after
now it not only
go ahead.
now it not only goes between worlds, it goes between times too. So
Yeah, as we see after that decapitation, we cut to the leader, just kind of talking about protecting his family and taking the staff and blasting the Sphinx, which disappears or blows up or both. But hey, also the cat is missing at the same time. Must have scared it off. And that's where we cut back to that opening character and see her sitting on the floor of the library there and kind of going through going through the bin or going through the knapsack thing there and taking out these a corpse, taking out a corpse. But not only that, but then all of a sudden the cat returns and is reunited, and that's when she has the reveal of, you can travel through time. Bad cat.
it seems like what she's remembering has gotten stirred up a little bit, and she's got to like piece things back together. And when she's going through her notes there, and it's like something's wrong, and then she finds this body, and it's like, huh.
So the cat's been altering the timeline, and so everything's changing.
Yeah, but yeah, another fantastic issue that we all seem to really be enjoying. And once again, this is Emma Kubert and Rusty Glad doing all of the work throughout this entire issue, and been really enjoying that process. And a series that I said from issue 1 that I really, wasn't sure I was jumping into a genre that was really to my liking, but I've thoroughly enjoyed each issue, and I like the standaloneness to it, that's with the overall, kind of like an Ice Cream Man series where each one is different, but the Ice Cream Man is the character that is kind of recurring. That is that, except less creepy and more kitty. So
I think I'm going to have to go back to the beginning and start making a list of names so I can keep everybody straight, because
yeah, that would probably help a lot.
yeah.
Because going into this, we didn't really expect what we were getting, where we just jump into all these different characters. And I'm sure there's going to be, now with the time travel, there's probably going to be some extra thread there to claw at for future issues. That was for you, David.
I discovered a thread recently. Okay, so I follow Emma on Instagram, and Inkblot also has its own Instagram where the little kitty cat, we get a cartoon of him doing different things that are not necessarily tied to the book. And this week we had some fun winter and Christmas drawings, Inkblot. So Inkblot can also now travel between social media universes too, where he's in the book and he's also celebrating Christmas and playing in the snow.
next thing you know, we'll find out Inkblot is going to be appearing in the next Spider-Man 3 movie because everybody else is. So.
He probably will.
But yeah, this has been really great. And yeah, Emma's a great follow on there to kind of see the art process and everything. So once again, if you haven't picked this up, it's a good time to check out the back issues or just jump on the most recent issue you can jump in. And I think you'll be fine. You'll just be on the adventure with the rest of us. So. All right. So we will close it off for issue number 4 of Inkblot. We will return next month with the next issue. The next one we're going to talk about will be between Jim and Katie, for they have read the Batman, The Adventures Continue, issue number 7. I do have the synopsis ready here. The stage is set for Jason Todd's master plan. Batman must kill the Joker, or Red Hood will kill Robin. Can Batman turn the tables on his boy wonder turned bad and save Tim Drake? Or will Batman finally put an end to the clown prince of crime shenanigans? Tune in next time. Same bat channel. So here we are, issue number 7. You two, take it off.
All right. Well, last time we kind of had a setup where Jason Todd, Red Hood, had taken Tim Drake from the Batcave along with his Robin costume and disappeared. And when he came to the Batcave, he was wearing a Batman suit, not the Red Hood suit. So I was set to see him set himself up as a Batman with his own Robin. But this book took a little bit of a turn, and we keep seeing a side of Jason that is both different and worse than we normally do. Now, don't get me wrong, we expect Red Hood to do things that are not right, to be violent, but it opens up on a scene that I don't think even the worst Jason would have actually done, because this is a woman that he supposedly loves and respects. He's robbing Dr. Tompkins' clinic for drugs. And he's mean to her. He's just rude to her. And that's something that I wouldn't have expected for any variation of Jason Todd before or after his transformation. So I was surprised at that. I don't know, Katie, how you thought about that.
No, I totally agree. I kind of lost all sympathy for Red Hood this issue. Like, I was rooting for him to, maybe make some peace with Batman. But right off the bat, I mean, there was really just no call for that. And then he's mad at her. He breaks into her office and surprises her and scares her. And he's like, all huffy about it. And dude, the bad guy here. But I agree. That was very disrespectful. Like, it's definitely unneeded. And I felt like he was taking out his anger at Batman on someone who had nothing to do with it. And that clip about, Bruce will just buy you more and you don't do anything anyway, stick to your Band-Aids and Bactine. I'm like, yeah, I agree. That was not okay. That was unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, the comment about Bruce buying more, that kind of fits, but yeah, the rest of it, yeah, is just uncalled for. And then we see a scene with Joker and Penguin trying to make a deal, and we get that creature again, that what was it, Birdman or something?
Wing.
Yeah.
Wing, yeah, okay. That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I keep thinking owlbear when I see it, but
Yeah, he does look like an owlbear.
yeah. Oh, I skipped over. We found out what Jason did with Tim. He has him like put away in Houdini water torture thing, where the water's slowly filling up until obviously somebody's going to have to come and rescue him. So, but in the meantime, yeah, we get the little scene with the Joker and Penguin fighting and their henchmen fighting it out for them. And that gets interrupted by Jason. And I don't quite understand why he had to be there, why that whole scene had to take place. Other than just probably an excuse to bring Wing back in. It could have gone right from there to Batman finding Jason in his underground lair. And then we do have Jason rescuing, or Batman rescuing Tim from Jason. Joker is there because, and again, why Joker had to be there, it didn't really mean anything. Although you do get to see that scene where Joker has his say about what happened to, he gets a comment about what happened to Jason after he beat him up and thought he left him for dead. So that's the only thing that happens, is that Joker gets to make, he gets to realize that Jason didn't die and he's doing this now. So he gets his moment of enjoyment out of the fact that now Jason is torturing Batman.
So one thing that I got from that, because I agree, Joker does a whole lot of standing around and talking. I felt like he was playing the role of a mirror, almost like a literary foil to Jason, because Joker is such a bad guy and he's absolutely deranged, and he does stuff like this all the time. So we get to see what Jason does mirrored through that and compared against it. And when even the Joker's like, this is really not who you are, this is like really harsh, and then later goading him into being that harsh. I thought that was very interesting, and it added depth, and
that's good.
I saw it as they're there to reflect on each other and show the reader how far Jason has gone, and maybe give us some perspective on what Joker's limits in this series are, just because obviously there's a lot of different versions of Joker, and some are more funny, some are outright terrorists. This is a good way to kind of frame that.
That's good,
and then also for the revenge.
I kind of saw Joker's role here as more or less saying, instead of having to just have Jason do one big monologue, they got to break it up as a dialogue between Jason and Joker.
Oh yeah, no, that's true as well. Like that's definitely true as well. And I think in terms of technique and structuring a book, you're dead on. You're right on the money. That's exactly what it is. So he's just not reciting a story to the audience. Yeah, I just English majored the heck out of that. My apologies. But yeah.
Cool.
I liked it.
And then we get the ending
part
where, of course, Batman rescues Tim, and Jason has the opportunity to be rescued, but he kind of declines it and is lost again. But at the very end, he is not lost. Instead, we find out that he has been rescued by somebody else that we saw earlier in the book, and I don't know where it's going, because it ends up right here with that word.
Ed.
Oh.
So I know that number 8 is coming out. Are we going to start a new arc with number 8, or is Oh, and if you notice that person in the frame above that, that's who rescued Jason. So,
which is cool because he was
it.
a villain in earlier issues, or not really a villain, but kind of an agent of chaos, really.
Well, Jason. Oh, he says Jason had been stalking him, so now he turned the tables around, and now he had been stalking Red Hood. So,
yeah, I have a question. So, just from reading this book, and some of the other not main timeline books, like we look at White Knight or something like that, or the Three Jokers, where they're not main timeline, but obviously DC puts them out. I feel like the Bat family spends more time fighting each other and griping and complaining and bringing up things from like 15 years ago than they do actually fighting crime, and that I feel like Joker doesn't actually have to be better or smarter than them. He just has to set a couple of the members off and put them against each other, and they do like 3/4 of his work. Is that by design, or am I looking at this the wrong way?
I think that's something that started with the storyline Death in the Family, where
Okay.
Joker killed Jason originally. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of stayed there for a while. And then when they brought Jason Todd back, then it kind of brought things up again. And people are like, well, is Batman going to recognize him? Is Batman going to take him back? That kind of thing. And then
Okay.
in 2012, I'm thinking, they did another storyline in the Batman comics and like across the whole Batman family line called Death of the Family. And this was another big Joker storyline where Joker like actually worked at splitting up the group and dividing Batman from the rest of them. And there was actually a lot of hurt in the mainline comics between all the characters and Batman. And if you're currently following the Batman books, that is still very much in play and is only
Okay.
gradually, slowly getting healed.
Okay.
Well,
Interesting.
as someone who didn't read this particular title, I think that element has been a part of the Batman comic series since Dick Grayson decided that he needed to break off on his own and become Nightwing. There was lots of tension between Batman and Nightwing for a long time when Dick made the decision that he wasn't going to live in Bruce's shadow anymore. He had to be his own person. There was a real difficulty with that split, and that's happened with each of the characters in their own way. That's been a part of the Batman family. I think there's a sense in which they're telling a story in which these people, and I'm not sure they're intentionally doing it, but there's something behind it where Bruce is locked into who he is and what he's doing, but the people around him grow up, they change, they become different people. And whenever that happens, there's this tension that begins to happen between Bruce and them, almost like Bruce can't let go of what was to let the new stuff kind of happen. And it always seems to take them a long time to come to a place where then Bruce accepts, okay, this person is now who they are. But in the process, there's some deeply hurt feelings that go with that.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. So that's very interesting. You know, I'm glad you both explained that to me. I think you brought some really good perspective. I can definitely see where you're going with this. As a writer, I do get why they're doing that and where they're coming from and what it means to the character. As a reader, I'm a little bit like, are these people so disjointed they don't realize that? I feel like they'll be fighting some bad guy and like throwing fists and rockets going off and stuff like that. And then someone will like stop it and they'll argue with each other about totally random things in the middle of a fight. So as a reader, I'm a little like, haven't they figured out that doesn't work? As a writer, I totally get it. And I see where they're coming from and what it means. No, that was awesome. Thank you. I am so grateful that you guys helped me learn something today.
And if you like seeing how that tension develops, now would be a good time to start reading Batman again, because some of that tension is going to carry over with Batman and the current Robin, where it has been, but it's going to develop even bigger in the next several issues.
Wow. Sounds like definitely an exciting time. Cool. Excellent.
The current Robin is Damian, so
it's
his son.
Like his adopted son?
His literal son.
His biological son.
Okay, cool. Well, this is probably a newbie question that's, longtime Batman readers are going to cringe. I have given up trying to figure out how all the members of the Bat family are related to Batman, because I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I haven't figured out that there are different Robins and it's the title that passes and different people take that title. But I haven't quite figured out how they're all related to Batman, or why no one's like, well, how come he's just nabbing teenagers and making them do his bidding? But I'm applying real world logic to comic book logic, and that's something I have to work on. But I'm really glad that you brought it up. And it sounds like even for these side stories, the writers are extremely cognizant of what is going on in the main comics and how can they interpret that. So no, awesome, and really cool time it sounds like to be reading Batman comics.
It is.
Awesome, very good.
So yeah, we will have one more issue that is number 8 of 6 that will be talked about the next time.
At least.
But who knows now with the end of this one? So who knows where the numbering's at now? But yeah, I think there's one more at least.
I know I've said it before, but if this one continues, I will not be upset because this is one of my favorite books going on right now.
I agree. This is really good.
Cool. All right. Well, that will do it for the club discussion portion of the podcast. We'll be right back with our weekly reviews. All right. We are saved. We're taking.
Dave, have you been watching Titans at all?
Yeah, I watched the first season. I think I saw the first 2 seasons. Are they on the third one now?
I don't know. I haven't caught completely up because I just started watching them last week on HBO. But yeah, that what you're talking about, Dick.
Yep.
And his relationship to Bruce, that they really bring that on good in that show.
Well, and it is interesting they have a more jerky sort of picture of Jason too in that show.
Oh,
he's a real jerk in that one before
he is.
I have another question.
Kidnapped by Joker.
I have another question. So I'm starting to develop a theory that the current Batman is not at all like, the Batman that you see, like kind of the more classic Batman. I low-key feel like Batman is kind of a jerk who is a rich guy who gets to get away with a lot of stuff because he's rich and famous and good looking and people like him. Am I right in guessing that if Batman were not Bruce Wayne, Batman would kind of low-key be a criminal? That parallel.
I was thinking about this actually early this morning. It was like, how would I describe Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman in terms of D&D alignments?
Ooh,
and I would
that's a good
say
one.
Batman would be he's not a nice person, but he is a good person.
I quite agree. Yeah.
And he is definitely not lawful, but he's not chaotic either because he does have a code. So he would have to be neutral good, whereas Superman is absolutely lawful good. And Wonder Woman would have to be the chaotic one because while she is probably the nicest one of them all, she's also the one that doesn't really care about the laws of man's world or even the laws of the laws of Themyscira. She's willing to go against her people's traditions to go and do what she wants. So Bruce Wayne Batman is like, he's probably a very good person. He has his own code of ethics, and doesn't matter what's getting in his way, he's going to do what's right according to him.
Well, if you follow them, I mean, I tend to look at the characters as they progress through time. And when Batman starts as a character, he's on his own. You're right, he's got his own code, his own structure. Then he adopts Dick, and he's the one who's running the show through all of the early parts of Dick's life. So what you get is a Batman that constantly is developing, who believes he's got the answers. He's the one in charge, and the people who are working with him have to toe the line. That's how Batman functions. He has real difficulty as a character, as a person in the story, putting up with anybody who wants to question his way of doing things. So there's always this sense of, and I don't know if that's good or that's bad or whatever. It's just who he is, this person who believes he's got the answers. Everybody needs to toe the line. And in fact, when they don't, that's when disaster happens. And so he's always trying to
I agree, but is that it's not really an ego thing for him. It's
No.
because I think it's because he puts his mission, his goals first.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and he believes that he knows the best way to get everything done. He's, and he's willing to follow his own sense of things no matter what. So, even within the wider Justice League, he develops ways to knock off all the other Justice League people in case they go rogue.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if that's morally good or not, but in terms of being a good leader who is doing disaster preparedness, or not even that, but like risk mitigation and harm reduction, that is actually very smart. So I guess a lot of it depends on, like, are you a morally good person? Are you a good person to the people around you? Or are you good for the situation? Because sometimes being a good leader, right, requires you to be kind of sociopathic.
Well, I see it more as
no, that's
he's good in preparedness. He's lousy at relationships.
Yeah.
And that's the real problem.
100%. Yes, absolutely. He looks at everyone like an asset, or like he kind of strips people of their humanity, and everyone is just an item to be played against his endless war against the darkness. Wow. Oh my gosh. You guys are so smart.
And how good of a person can you be to let teenagers go out and fight crime?
Well, at least
no matter how well they're trained.
Or to treat anybody as an object, as a tool to your cause, rather than as a person.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh, you guys are so smart. Thank you. Yeah.
I see Anthony going, we need to get on with this show.
It's a perfect commercial for the YouTube.
Should have been recording it.
Because the audio is not recorded for the podcast, so it's only a bonus for the YouTube audience. So I'll get to promote that once we jump back in. So I'm here all night, so no worries. Okay, we
gotta get something for Kirby and Damon to do.
All right, recording for audio. There we go. Welcome to the weekly review section. We're going to go all the way around the internet, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. And this is a little pitch for the YouTube audience. You would have gotten some bonus Batman discussion after our last segment title. So if you're listening to just the audio, you don't get that exclusive inside look at the club really discussing and breaking down the Bat family. So check it out. Subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comics on YouTube. All right. First title I'm going to talk about here is currently a Comixology exclusive, issue number 1 of The Amazing Giro Man. All right, there we go. Giro Man returns. Meet Melvin something, the mild-mannered fry cook. Everything is going swell in Melvin's life until a freak lightning storm changes his life forever. Giro Man returns. But what is this strange new land? Where can someone get some guidance? When is lunchtime? Join us for this epic relaunch of a classic indie comic character known as Giro Man. Let's discover the secrets of his origin together. Created by the award-winning famous cartoonist Art Baltazar. Oh yeah. And by the way, this is all a true story. The whole thing, it's true. Okay. The Amazing Giro Man number 1 is a 99-cent digital comic right now on Comixology. And it is actually lifted from an idea he did in 1998 where he had this character, but he's basically doing a modern day reboot, if you will. Giro Man is his secret identity is a character named Melvin something. Something is his last name. Melvin works at the Giro Queen, so we see that right away in the opening, which is located in the south side of Chicago. It's the home of the $1.99 Giro Special. So we get a little origin story of meeting Melvin, who is a fry cook. One cool thing that's happening at the Giro Queen restaurant is that we see Art Baltazar's longtime co-creating friend, Franco, who is just sitting there eating lunch. So he's got a cool little cameo in this first issue. but it is a story seeing how this there was this lightning strike on the Gyro Queen restaurant, and while Melvin is making food and doing all the lunch orders and everything, he gets electrocuted, big explosion, and he reappears rather, as the superhero Gyro Man, who is wielding a sometimes glowing spatula, which I'll leave that for the new readers to find out. Gyro Man, what's cool about this? It's a lot of fun. It's kid friendly. Um, it has the vibes of like Milk and Cheese and Ren and Stimpy type of mentality to it when it comes to like the drawing style, which is very much in the Art and Franco art style through Oh Yeah Comics and all the titles that they work on. But this one is solely a art project, both literally and the Gyro Man started with the Gyro Hero number 0, which was a Comic-Con International San Diego 1998 debut, I assume. So the back half of this comic is actually reprinting the origin, and it's a black and white that Art and a couple other co-creators worked on back in 1998. So you see how this character first started so many years ago. And so this is, I want to say, maybe like 15 to 20 pages of the new story, which you could see him draw if you follow Art Baltazar, the famous cartoonist, through the Oh Yeah Comics YouTube channel. Several times a week, almost daily, he does these talking and drawing sessions, these live streams, and he did a lot of drawing for Gyro Man. So it's kind of cool, devouring hours of him talking and drawing and coloring and lettering these books, and then to hold it in my hands as far as a digital comic goes on an iPad. So all of his comics, what he's able to do, it's easier and cheaper for him to throw them up on Comixology. Very affordable. He's got a couple other things up there. Recently, I talked about him here on the podcast, and the sales that he would get selling these digital, he's pooling into hopefully doing a print run, whether it be through his website or when conventions come back, being able to do print copies. So these will be things that I'm excited to buy again in print, but for the 99 cents to help support the working man who is swigging in his basement as he's drawing and talking, saying things as he says. So yeah, this is a real fun comic if you like Art and Franco stuff. If you've never read any of their products, this would be a good thing to jump into, because just real lighthearted, fun, cartoony. Once again, just a look at the one of the pages here as I get the glare off the screen. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that is Gyro Man, or the Amazing Gyro Man, issue number 1, available now on Comixology. Oh yeah. All right, we will jump over to Damon for the next one.
Okay. This was a Kirby recommendation, and I gotta say, without a doubt, it is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever read, but it is also one of the most hilarious and probably one of the best things I've ever read, and that is Grizzly Shark. Here is the synopsis, just to give you an idea of how this book is written. Their description of how this could have come to pass just tells you how stupid the writing is and how great it is. But they say, "And lo, in the time before time was time, and space was space. In the remote reaches of our universe, there was the planet Earth. It was not the Earth we know today. This Earth was very different. What we know now to be land was not land at all, and what we know now to be water was not water at all. What we know now as land was in fact water, and what we know now as water was in fact land. All of the land creatures we know now existed in the time and lived their lives in water. All of the water creatures we know now existed in this time and lived their lives on land, and everyone was happy. And then came the time of the great reversal. It was a time of great calamity and upheaval. Many lives were lost in the transition, and still many more lives were forever changed forever. I don't know if that makes sense. Forever changed forever. But I digress. Mountains roared and oceans cried as the massive shift took place. What we knew then to be land became water, and what we knew then to be water became land. And all of the animals of the earth that lived in the water were suddenly made to live on land, and all the animals of earth that lived on land were suddenly made to live in water. It was a time of great hardship, as the great water creatures, the elephant, the wolf, and the bird, were forced to live on land. And it was a time of great hardship, as the great land creatures, the whale, the fish, and the dolphin, were forced to live in water. But the poor unfortunate bear and poor unfortunate shark, they got mixed up. And that is how you get the classic award-winning issue of Grizzly Shark versus Sea Bear. I can't even say it with a straight face. This was hilarious. I know Kirby just did his review of the first issue, and so I'm going to mainly focus on books 2 and 3. This trade paperback, it's just 3 issues that were written. This trade just contains all 3 and some special features in the back. But I gotta say, my very favorite, on the second page, the kid is cut in half, and the dad just dumps the top half of his body in fire to cauterize the wound. The kid's crying, it hurts real bad. And his response is, "Stop your complaining. I just saved your life. Show some gratitude. Take some aspirin." It's hilarious. It is the bloodiest thing you will ever see. People are just randomly attacked and bit in half. And it is cool. There's like stupid stuff too, that just, they love their gore, and to just do panels that make you laugh that have nothing to do with the overarching story. I'll cover this up. For instance, you have this woman just walking her dog, and her word balloon says, "He actually dumped me." She's talking on the phone. "I was a complete mess. Seriously, I've never been more crushed." Next panel, giant rock pancakes her. It's great.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah. In the episode, the last issue of Sea Bear versus Grizzly Shark, they're fighting. They're having a big fight on a boat, going back and forth. And one guy accidentally gets shot and his arm starts bleeding, and they both just stop their fighting and look and drool and then go after the blood. And it's hard to tell on here, but this picture right here, just, it was awesome. It made me laugh. It was great. I loved it. It was by far the best recommendation Kirby has made. Just to give you an idea, it is extremely bloody and graphic. There is no nudity, but I definitely would not let kids read this, because there is a zombie baby that they end up in this beautiful splash page using as bait for all the sharks to come get. It was a lot of fun. I read through this in one sitting. It's a very quick read. It's great. It's cheap. You can pick this up at like the online retailer I go to all the time. It was $7.50. I highly recommend reading it. It's a great laugh. All 3 issues. And then in the back, there's special features, like all kinds of scripts and notes and what they were thinking with some of the stuff that they did and the origin of the story. The first 2 issues were written in a day. They were doing a thing where they could do a 24-hour comic. And this is written by Ryan Ottley, which was the artist for Invincible by Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, and jumping in and out of the current Spider-Man run as well.
So, the art is still good. Come on. Where can you see like Grizzly Shark versus Sea Bear? It was a blast. Kirby, thank you so much. This is one that I'll definitely reread several times whenever I need a quick pick-me-up. It's a quick read. You'll probably read the whole book in about a half hour. And you've only read the first one, so you got to pick up 2 and 3. They're just as good, if not as better, than the first issue.
Yeah, I plan on it.
So, for a quick, fun read, it's just mindless, and it's bloody, and it's just stupid, but it's hilarious. I highly recommend Grizzly Shark.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to revisit it myself. I do have all three, but I guess I didn't grasp the idea that that was Ryan Otley on there as well. So that only further influences me to reread it. And I think it would be a great thing to read do a reread of the Shirtless Bear Fighter as well. It seems like it'd be a good marathon read of afternoon. So
Even though it's not current, I think this would be a fun club pick. Just for everybody, if they're able to pick it up to just read and then talk about, because it's so stupid. It's that much fun. It might be fun to discuss it because there's so much you could talk about. There's little tidbits. There's one line where someone's about to get eaten up and they look to their friends. The sharks even stop so he can look to his friends to say, "Fly, you fools," just like Gandalf did in the Lord of the Rings.
Sold. I'll buy 10.
What's that?
It's sold. I'll buy 10.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of little Easter eggs in there and stuff. So it was fun. I highly recommend it.
yeah, and the way you kind of pitched it as a possible club discussion thing, it might not be a bad thing if between the ones that have read it and if anybody else had planned to almost do its own special mini episode. That might be Crimson Cowl Comic Club presents, and the Graphic Novel Club or something, and just do a separate episode. So
Sure.
So yeah, if anybody else is into that, just let us know. I'm down for that, and I'm sure Kirby is as well, and Damon obviously is. So anybody else, this is your time to seek that out, and we can make that happen. All right. Speaking of Kirby, we'll jump to him next for the next weekly review.
Speaking of Kirby's weird comics, checked out Cherubs. It's Cantica #1, Paradise Lost. Trade paperback. I suppose I should cover stuff up when I show it. But I can't really show the inside because there's cherubs flying around with their little dinglings hanging out all over the pages. So, Heaven Sent, Hell Bent, Cherubs Rock. Framed for the first murder in heaven, they escape to New York just in time for the apocalypse. Lucifer is about to be unbound. Can these gonzo celestial ankle biters have any effect whatsoever on the unbending forces of destiny? Faced with a renegade archangel, hordes of Frankie Dracula's nightclubbing vampires, fairy hookers, seraphim terminators, and a lovable exotic dancer called Mary. What do you think? This was fun. It's basically the cherubs get framed because Archangel Abaddon kills a bunch of people, kills a bunch of angels and stuff, and makes a deal with Lucifer beforehand. If he did certain things, then Lucifer would basically give him the throne, and Lucifer would take a break for a while. The cherubs get tossed into limbo for a bit of time, and they find ways through boredom to get out of limbo, and they end up in New York City, and that's where they meet up with Mary, who's an exotic dancer, and she's working for this club run by that Dracula character, Frankie Dracula. And you find out later on that Frankie Dracula is working with Archangel Abaddon to open up a bunch of these nightclubs all over the place, and then they can basically kill a bunch of people, turn them into vampires, take over as many souls as they can and stuff like that. But yeah, this was a fun, it's ongoing, I'm assuming. I'm hoping there's more of these. But it's just a fun look at just a group of cherubs cruising around trying to fix the wrongs that they were done and help out some other characters along the way that if they weren't there would have been in way deeper trouble. But yeah, it was a fun, another fun, goofy story. So
yeah, and I know this kind of hypocritical to say for someone that just was talking about the Gyro Man, but I don't know where you find this weird stuff half the time. I never, once again, believe it exists until you bring it to the club.
It's Euro.
There are several ways to say it, so some say Gyro and others say it how you said it.
Or gyro.
But yeah. All right. Yeah. Next up is going to be Dr. Kurtstad.
I have Zoo. It's adaptation by Andy McDonald of James Patterson's novel Zoo. I don't know if anybody's read that particular novel. It also was a television series, which I don't think was quite as good as the novel. It's basically the story of animals suddenly becoming more and more aggressive against people. And not only are they becoming more aggressive, but they appear to be smarter as well. And there's a race then led by Jackson Oz, who's the only scientist who initially recognizes this escalating violence among the animals, to find out why is this happening. It's a fascinating study because in some ways this comic is also very today. Because when they find out what's causing the animals to alter like this, it turns out to be some things that we as people have become very dependent on. And the only solution for solving the problem is to stop that activity, to somehow distance themselves from it. And everybody knows this is the only way for people to stop all these attacks from animals, to allow humans to survive. But what do we choose to do? Not do that. Just like today when people, talk about these are activities that can help us fight this disease, but I don't want to do that. That'll wreck my life. And so everything just continues to escalate. I don't want to give all the things away of what's going on, but it was a wonderful novel. And I think the graphic novel makes it even easier to read, more accessible. It's interesting that it's a black and white adaptation. And I think in some ways that adds to the story. It makes it much more stark, because it is a stark and somewhat a story that just grabs you out of nowhere. And so I love the novel. I thought the TV show was okay. The graphic novel is very good. And anybody who's read the story would love to be able to put a visual image to James Patterson's story, Zoo. So I think it's a great piece for people to go out. I'm always fascinated by taking stories that have been in other mediums and transferring them to comics. And so this is a good example of that.
Do we know if his other work has been put into graphic novel at all, or?
Not really. Well, the one that might have is he did a series of novels about young superheroes, and I think some of those might have been transferred to graphic novels too.
There's a Maximum Ride series. Is that
yeah, Maximum Ride. That was
cool.
So I'm pretty sure that has also had some graphic novel presentations. But
cool. All right.
It's a 2012 publication. So if you want to get it, you're going to have to look into some back. That's where I found it at Crimson Cowl. If you had gone there, you could have had this book. But that's the kind of place you might have to look to find this one.
Good. All right. This is the time of the show where we would normally jump over to our Jedi Ambassador, Katie. However, I would assume the Jedi Ambassador status is going to be on hold for this week, as we have something else we're going to talk into. So what do you got on for today?
I do. Well, you are correct. The Jedi Ambassador is on sabbatical. The company goes on shutdown for like the last 2 weeks of the year, so the Jedi aren't working. So this time I am just Crimson Cowl Comic Club Ambassador Katie, bringing Beast by Marion Churchland. This is a graphic novel from Image Comics. It is a slice of life novel inspired by fairy tales. So the concept is there is a young woman who is an artist. She's looking for work. Her dad gets her a gig, and it's pretty shady. It's like he went on Craigslist and found this job offer and didn't really question it. It's for a fabulous amount of money, but she's going to be kind of like stuck in residence. So anyway, she accepts the gig because she needs work. She drives out to this cruddy, beat up old apartment that's owned by this old lady who is not very good at hygiene or anything. And the main character gets presented with a blob of marble, right? Like it's just a big block. And she's like, okay, but what do you want me to do with it? And then while she's there, I guess kind of like a ghost, but a supernatural presence manifests itself and effectively says, I want you to carve this into a statue of my likeness so that I can finally be free. And well, she's taken the money, she's locked into the gig, and it's captured her artistic spirit. So she starts away with making this statue. And we find out that this entity has really been waiting for a long time, centuries even, for an artist who has a particular knack to do this job. And we find out some of the back history of this piece of marble. I don't actually know the singular plural for a column of marble, so if someone does, please let me know. But this piece of marble, we get to find out, it came from Italy, and it was originally intended for this one artist, and then his competitor ruined it. So that was pretty neat. And then when he finishes, she really can't get it out of her head, and she ends up deciding to stay. So the fairy tales that's inspired by, loosely inspired by Beauty and the Beast. I get a little bit of Phantom of the Opera from it, and a little bit, it's not a fairy tale, but the picture of Dorian Gray. From this, it is a slice of life. It's done almost more in like a sketchbook style versus a comic book. It is black, white, and gray, so that was interesting. I don't know if adding color would have actually improved it. I kind of liked it the way it was. I thought it was very easy to read. I enjoyed that quite a bit because it's my busy season at work, so I didn't want to read something very complicated. Not a whole lot of text. The pictures do really tell a story. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I picked it up because we were having the comic book purge, and I'm like, why not? And I really enjoyed it. So that is Beast by Marion Churchland from Image Comics.
Cool. All right. Next up here, we have a little Christmas folly, if you will. Jim, what are we talking about?
We're talking about Laurel and Hardy. I didn't know they had such a thing as Laurel and Hardy comic books, but I was looking through Midtown's listing and I saw this and it's like, hey, that looks interesting. I used to love watching Laurel and Hardy and might as well check it out. And it is a nice little comic book. It's got 3 stories in it. And they are very wholesome, very funny, cute little stories where they get into their traditional hijinks and have their problems and come out with happy endings. Maybe it's been too long for me since I've actually watched them, but I had a hard time getting into the voices when I'm reading it.
Really?
It's just been too long. So I do remember it, but I just couldn't quite get into it that deeply. But yeah, they are very good. I do know a young man who is just really enchanted with Christmas, and I plan to pass this book off to him because it is such a wholesome stories that I have no trouble giving it to. This young man I know who has Down syndrome, I believe he will enjoy this very much, as it's not something I plan on collecting or keeping. So I think I have found a good home for it. But we got stories where they work in a Christmas tree lot and they have to deliver a Christmas tree, but the house is locked. The second story, I really enjoyed the art on. It's got this really cool, I don't know if it's white. I think it's watercolor effect rather than actually watercolor. But
Yeah.
where they get into trouble with a gang of young kids who are kind of hooligans on the neighborhood. You know, they have trouble with them, and then finally come straight, and they end up giving their Christmas gifts to the kids who turn them around. And the last one is they get jobs at the local department store being Santa and his elf, and then Santa's house falls apart right before the boss comes back to visit them. So, you know, there. And then really interesting at the end, rather than a comic, there is just a text story of Laurel and Hardy relating the story of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And it's just 2 pages where they kind of get into their version of what happened in the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And that turns out to be really cute too. So, and this is from American Mythology Comics. And again, I didn't know Laurel and Hardy was a thing. I don't think I ever noticed that name of American mythology before. So that's their mascot.
Well, cool. All right. Well, I shifted around the order a little bit since you had that Christmas title. I'm going to throw my Christmas title into the mix. This is DC Christmas Carols. This is a new little hardcover. It's called "We Wish You a Harley Christmas." This is written by Daniel Kibblesmith, who I know, very funny personality. He's written the Lockjaw miniseries. He's done a Harley, I think, a short story in one of the anniversary issue celebrations. Very funny guy. So when I heard that he was doing this Christmas Carol book, I was very much intrigued. Let's see here. Deck the halls with Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, the Joker, Harley Quinn, and other favorite superheroes and supervillains in this sensational seasonal collection of classic Christmas carols with a DC twist. Many different songs here included. We have "I Saw Lois Kissing Superman," "Batman Baby," "Good King Aquaman," "The 12 Days of Villains," which I'm going to share a little piece from because it's my favorite one, "Joke to the World," "Silent Night" with a K, Kal-El, as in Noel, and "Barry the Red Suit Speedster," and "We Two Queens of Themyscira," and many more. There was a lot here to really enjoy. This was a $15 hardcover. There are some illustrations in here and stuff too, but it is true a songbook. There's a fun little one with her hyenas here as their opening presents. So yeah, there's it's a lot of classic art and a lot of modern art. Here's a good one with Batman and Santa Claus here. But yeah, this is super fun. With my lack of ability of singing, I still got a lot of enjoyment as I was going through these and keeping with the tune and everything. But yeah, like I said, one of my favorites here is the 12 Days of Villain, to the tune of 12 Days of Christmas. And I'm going to share one little piece here. On the 8th day of Christmas, from Arkham did they flee. 8 faces claying, 7 crows a scaring, 6 penguins clucking, 5 KG beast, 4 killer moths, 3 man bats, 2 Harvey Dents with a kiss from Poison Ivy. That is just a fraction of the stuff that you can get in here. This is looks like it goes up to about 70 pages or so. They do have all the art credits in back as they go through. Basically all the years. There's even art from 1945 up till the present in here. So it's a pretty good collection. Super cute little hardcover book. And I like that it had a little bookmark tassel there. So I was able to cue up that awesome little jingle there. But I absolutely love this. And so it's a good little thing for your DC fans here. We Wish You a Harley Christmas by Daniel Kibblesmith. All right. Then we are going to jump over to, I believe, Kirby for the next one.
Thinking with Christmas, we're going to talk about the Gremlins.
Ooh.
Oh, we're going to talk something better than that.
Better than Gremlins? That's a high bar you just set there.
Big Trouble in Little China. I checked out the first 2 issues. I didn't know what to expect with it. I thought maybe it would basically be the whole movie again, just done in comics. But happily, it starts out right where the movie ends, as Jack Burton's cruising away in the Pork Chop Express, and the demon pops up on the back of the truck. And throughout here, the demon jumps in his trailer and causes them to pull over and figure out what's going on and take care of the situation. Finds out that the demon's just his new little friend now, his little buddy, his pet, or whatever. It's basically because he defeated Lopan, and the demon was Lopan's little whatever character that did all his bidding for him. Now he's following Jack Burton around and doing whatever he wants him to do, and he stops at a truck stop and gets the guy dressed up a little bit, picks him up a t-shirt and hat, names him Pete. And he's like, well, I can't have you traveling around with me. I got to get rid of you. So he heads back to Chinatown to look up Wang and them and see if he can pass them off with them and they can do something with them. And when he arrives, he happens upon it's Wang's wedding, getting ready for all that. And so Jack sticks around for that. And of course, some people bust into the wedding and cause some problems that are coming after him for taking out Lopan and the other clans. And then another sorcerer student of Lopan, this big sorcerer, just appears and he grabs Wang and Mao Yang and holds them captive and wants to take them out, but then makes a deal with Jack Burton, and Jack Burton and Egg go on and do some travels and have to find some things for the sorcerer. And it's the typical Jack Burton fun all the way through. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I don't know how many issues they had total for this, but I'm hoping the story goes on and we find some other students of Lopan that will keep popping up, and it'll just keep going on and on. But yeah, I was very, very happily surprised with these. So
Cool. All right, jump over to Dr. Kurtzstad with some Spider-Man.
Yes. Spider-Man.
Hanging on by the web.
Issue number 5, the J.J. Abrams, Henry Abrams, Sarah Pacelli, and Dave Stewart version that this is Spider. I'd always hoped that comics would do this rather than repristinate heroes that have been around for a while, kind of take them back in time and do it over again. This comic moves into the future. What happens beyond Peter Parker as Spider-Man? It takes the story of that Mary Jane is killed while he's fighting a cyborg named Cadaverous. Peter is so shattered by this that he can no longer be Spider-Man, and he has trouble even being around his son Ben because he's afraid that Ben one day will develop his powers, and Peter doesn't want him to follow in his footsteps. And so Peter leaves Ben with Aunt May and goes off taking photography jobs around the world. But finally he comes back and finds out that Aunt May, believe it or not, has encouraged Ben to become the new Spider-Man, has given him a costume, sent him out, and now he's out doing these things. Peter goes ballistic. But in the meantime, Cadaverous returns and takes Peter prisoner. And we find out in this last issue what Cadaverous is after. He's after Peter's blood for his nefarious purposes, which we find out. I'm not going to give everything away. I hope people will read this. And Ben is forced to come to his father's rescue, essentially. What this does, this comic is great in that it gives us a new generation of Spider-Man, not just Peter as Spider-Man, but that the torch is passed on in much the same way that the Amazing Spider-Girl did that as well. And I thought was one approach to doing that. This is J.J. Abrams' approach to doing that. And I think he did an incredible job giving us a story of a new young Spider-Man struggling with his powers, struggling with the responsibility that goes with being Spider-Man, and eventually trying to find a blessing from his father, from the original Spider-Man. The story ends on a very positive, I'm not going to give you the ending. You have to read it yourself, but it's a very positive and powerful ending to the story. I'm not sure whether they're going to continue this this arc or the story beyond this arc of it. But I found it just an incredible approach to it. J.J. Abrams, I think, is a pretty genius sort of person for putting together a story. He's done it in movies, and now within the comic world as well, has given us a story that I think takes us to the next level of what Spider-Man could be about if we were to move beyond Peter Parker. And so anybody who might be interested in what that might look like, this is a great series to find that out.
Yeah, I was just going through my Spider-Man section here, and it looks like I need issue 5 yet. I think I got lost in the shuffle with the conversion of, from Crimson to, and COVID and all that stuff, because I do have issue number 4. So I've made a note. I have got to get that one. But I know originally they did the 5-issue series, and then there was big delays, and then there was COVID delays. I think originally it was only intended for the 5 issues, but we'll see once, I'm sure they'll put out the trade paperback and things like that, and kind of see what sales are if they return to another set of stories or not.
We have a good ending to look forward to. They did a great job of wrapping it up in a way that I think made you feel a kind of conclusion to this story, which has been filled with a lot of struggle, and both personally and within the story itself for both Peter and Ben. So
yeah, I think I'll definitely have to binge all 5 of them there as I track down that last issue. So,
and they did have a great great ending. Ben is given this at the very end of the story from
his own set of Spider-Man pajamas. Great for Christmas gifts too. So good. All right. Then we are going to jump over to, I believe, me. Let me just see. Yep, we're going to jump to me. The next title here is going to be out of the excitement of the upcoming Wonder Woman 1984 movie that is coming out on Christmas Day for theaters that are open, as well as HBO Max. I think it's going to be available on there for a span of 30 days or so on HBO Max. Wonder Woman, The True Amazon by Jill Thompson. So I've got a stack of Wonder Woman trades here that I've picked up throughout the years, and I'm saving them for this occasion to kind of read through a bunch of different versions of Wonder Woman. In this unique and original take on the origin of Wonder Woman, writer and artist Jill Thompson shares a Princess Diana unlike any we've seen before. As a child, she is spoiled and free to exert her will without restraint, until her selfishness leads to tragic results. Before she can become a hero, she will first have to find redemption. This describes it perfectly, and it's very you kind of go through the origin of Diana becoming who she is. They do the whole molded out of clay type of origin, put a little different spin on that part as well. But after you get through those first couple pages, we jump into Diana as a young girl, and you see her, with nobody else is aging on Themyscira on Paradise Island, so this is the first time in a long time they've had a child on the island. So she is definitely focus of attention. But yeah, this described it perfectly in the sense of how quick she is, very bratty, very spoiled, very whiny. She shows off a lot. She becomes an annoyance to a certain level. All the other Amazonian warriors, while they do get annoyed, they ultimately, respect the royalty that she holds and the specialness of who she is. But ultimately, they too are also just kind of frustrated with her and how she's very rude at times. So, out of all the different Wonder Woman I've read, I've never really read a take of her like this one here by Jill Thompson, who does, I believe, everything. I don't know if she does the letters on here, but as far as the writing and the art, we have Jason Arthur, who is the letter. Otherwise, everything else is done by Jill Thompson. But while having said that, that's what was really intriguing by that, is because it was such a different take on it. There's a moment throughout this graphic novel that focuses on the big contest, as we often see in Wonder Woman stories, as they're all competing, whether it be on horseback and archery and strength challenges and battles and all that kind of stuff. But there's a very interesting and dark twist to that, in which Diana wants to kind of get the leg up, and as she realizes that she may not be winning this competition, she makes a decision that will affect everybody as that is competing and basically moving forward. So it's really crazy. I was really engaged with this. Read it all in a sitting because it was just a very good read. I like the art style here. We see. I'm just trying to look if there's any splash pages. Even though this is, the Wonder Woman, the true Amazon, it's not dealing with a timeline of her being Wonder Woman as a superhero and saving the world and that kind of stuff. So when it comes to, donning the armor and the outfit that we all come to know as Wonder Woman, it's not dealing with that at all. So there's not, I'm just trying to see if there's any other splash pages here that I can really kind of show off that don't give anything away, because I keep kind of going to something very specific. Let's see here. Here's one battle with some beast here in the town, just so you can kind of see some of the art style. Let me cut to some of the early stuff here that kind of gets away from spoiler stuff. Here's just kind of her in her everyday life as they're kind of all doing their chores around the island, and that was a more grown up one. And then here is here we go. Here's the good child progression there, as we see her as an infant up to a toddler. And so yeah, it just kind of shows you a good example. Jill Thompson's art there, gorgeous through and through. Once again, this story stands out from any of the other Wonder Woman, with maybe the exception of our most recent Wonder Woman Dead Earth, because that was a very, different take on it as well. But the character of Diana being portrayed as a little brat, an annoying kid, is something that is taking to an extreme in here to service this very interesting take. So highly enjoyed it. This was a 2017 Eisner Award-winning Best Graphic Album. And then there's a cool introduction by Mariko Tamaki, who is currently writing the main Wonder Woman title. So that was kind of cool. A couple years separated from when this came out. And so, yeah, that is Wonder Woman, The True Amazon by Jill Thompson. All right. And I think we have one more title on the list. Let's catch up with Deadpool with Kurtstad.
Deadpool number 9. And you see there that Deadpool now has a new love interest, Elsa Bloodstone. And he's willing to go pretty far to protect her. Just to give you the little synopsis at the beginning, Deadpool is now king of the monsters. Not only is there's Elsa, is not only the merc with a mouth, but he's now the king of the monsters, having taken over a part of New York where the monsters all live. He is their king for having defeated their previous king. Recently, monster hunter Elsa Bloodstone paid a visit to Deadpool's kingdom full of monsters. No problem with that picture, right? Elsa came looking for help through the monster. Though the monstrous queen of the bone beast has poisoned the bloodstone embedded in her palm. Deadpool accompanied Elsa to the bone beast realm, where they plan to kill the queen, save Elsa, and rescue some kidnapped children. But then the queen revealed that Elsa only brought Deadpool to be the queen's new host. Betrayal. Betrayals aside, Elsa and Deadpool fought to escape with the kids until Elsa's infection caused her to collapse. Deadpool removed the bloodstone to save her, and as Bone Beast descended upon them, placed the bloodstone in himself to absorb its poisonous power. Meanwhile, back on Monster Island, the deadly Dio Monstri cult may have just been sighted. So we're mainly focused on Deadpool and Elsa in this other realm, trying to save the kids, trying to save Elsa. Deadpool in love with her and willing to take her stone on himself to save her and the kids. It leads to a whole incredible fight scene that's a part of this, which is kind of normal for Deadpool. And because he's got Elsa's bloodstone in his chest now, by the end of the fight, we have Deadpool as just a head. That's all that's left of him. And they're waiting for Deadpool to be resurrected. But let me read you the last few panels because it's pretty funny. There's Deadpool just ahead. Elsa says, I think there's still an open seam in Egypt. We can hike out of here in a hurry. And Deadpool says, but I don't have any legs. She says, I'm making you a baby, Bjorn. So she picks him up and he says, so are we dating now? She says, maybe I'm stunned to admit this. I've actually dated more bizarre things than just a sentient head with vocal cords. Deadpool says, I appreciate that you're saying that I'm not the worst thing you've ever dated. And she said, well, I didn't say that. Can I just say this placement of this sweet Bjorn is in your suite, and I won't finish it there, is cool. Another boob joke, and I'll turn what's left of you inside out. Understand? Might be worth it, Deadpool says. Don't test me, Wade. And so they walk off into the sunset together. A new couple. Deadpool, Elsa Bloodstone. We have much to look forward to. But this whole arc has been pretty fun with Elsa Bloodstone as a part of the story. So not just this issue, but if you can't get a chance, go back a few issues, pick up where Elsa comes on the scene. The new issues of Deadpool are interesting because there's not quite that same verbal humor, but there's a different kind of humor that now pervades Deadpool, I think. Humor based on his relationship with other characters in the story, some visual stuff. It's, at first I wasn't sure whether I was going to like this take on Deadpool because I really like the kind of great verbal quips that Deadpool always had going on. There's less breaking of the fourth wall, which is I miss too. But there's still something kind of charming and fun about this Deadpool as well. So I'd encourage people to give it a try, even if you like the old Deadpool a whole lot.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that. Kelly Thompson is the writer. If you've read any of her other stuff dealing with like Kate Bishop Hawkeye, she's done Jessica Jones, Rogue and Gambit, and she's got a good feel for those kind of characters. And so, yeah, like you said, it doesn't have that. It has humor, but it has a different shift in the humor. And if you've known her from any of those other things, you see some of that where, yeah, it's very relationable when it comes to the characters and stuff. So, good. All right. Well, that will do it for our weekly reviews, but we have a letters page. So let's turn the page.
Yeah, I like the Deadpool run too so far. I haven't got that issue in the mail yet, but I can't believe Jeff the Land Shark didn't pick up Deadpool's head and carry it for him.
Well, actually, they had a great scene in it where Jeff the land shark is fighting off these creatures with a knife in his mouth.
Let's see if
Was
I have any
hoping-
knives around here.
And when he's jumping out of the dimension, he's got like the knife in his mouth, and Deadpool goes, "Yeah, take the knife with you."
Okay. We are saved. We are recording. All right, here we go. Welcome to the letters page. We use this section to dip into the giant mailbag. You know, millions of letters come to us every week, but every couple weeks we have time to pick one of those. And this question we're going to bring up to the club here. Which comic book character would you want to get in a Secret Santa exchange, and what would you buy them? So everybody pick their Secret Santas. You open up your piece of paper and you see this comic book character and somebody who you know you're going to give the right gift to. I will kick it off with my choice is going to be Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman from the Fantastic Four. If you followed any of her journey throughout comics and since the incarnation of her character back in the 60s, you'll notice that she's often ignored by her husband, Reed Richards. He'll always be, working in the lab, working on his project, and she'll be right there, and he's very, very much always ignoring her. And I figured if I got Sue Storm in a Secret Santa, I would definitely give her this awesome spa package that's going to be like a complete getaway. She's not even going to remember anything about Reed. She's going to, do all the spa treatment. She's going to have, movie tickets in there. She's going to have all of this fun stuff that is curated for only her. Has nothing to do with Reed. He will have none. He won't even know she's gone. But she's going to have a blast and not even care that it's Christmas time and spend that with Reed and the family. She needs a well-deserved vacation, not only from superheroing and all of that fun stuff and her secret spy work recently with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury that we got in a couple stories in the last couple years, but also a good vacation from Reed. So that is my choice there. Let's jump over to Damon. You open up your slip of paper. Whose name is written on there, and what are you getting that person?
I don't really have any idea. I didn't see this question in advance. Haven't had a chance to think about it.
Should we cycle back? Give you a couple.
I don't know. Maybe skip me for now.
All right, let's jump over to Kirby. Let's say you reached your hand into a Santa hat and swirled around all the names. I'm just buying more time for Damon. And you pick one of those up. You unfold it once and twice and three, four. It's folded so many different times. Once again, still buying more time for Damon. And then you open it up and you see a name written there that's a comic book character name. Once again, buying time for Damon. And you're just like, wow, here's this name. I'm going to read this name aloud. What's that name say?
It says Tippy Toe.
What are you going to get a squirrel?
I'm going to do this for my squirrels this winter, but I'd take and build Tippy Toe a house. That's a 2-part house that I can wrap around the tree trunk, lock it in. I want it to have a nice hidey hole, a cubby area where they can stay out of the weather. I want to have a fireplace that I can fill with nuts that they can just eat out of gradually from the bottom, and the nuts will just keep coming down and down and down. That's what I'd like to do. But then, by luck, I just didn't get Tippy Toe. I happen to have the stupid Silver Surfer on my list. And I got stuck with that. So what am I going to get Silver Surfer? Oh, yeah, a pair of pants. That's what I'll get him.
Yeah, looking at him, he could use it. So now I do have to ask, what color are these pants?
Cosmic orange.
There we go. Good. All right. We'll jump over to Dr. Kurtstad. Who did you get in the comic book Secret Santa?
Well, there are two minds I had about this. I think from a curiosity standpoint, it would be interesting to draw Daredevil and then get him a Oculus system and see if his radar sense could somehow still use that system. I mean, he can see things in the real world through this. Can he use that for the Oculus system? I'd just be fascinated to know. He seems to be able to do everything else. He can read newspapers. He can do all these other things, even though he can't see. So could he use an Oculus?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he opens it and he's like, "Oh, thanks." But yeah, you brought up some good points about.
But on a more serious note, kind of like to reach in and draw Spider-Man, be able to get him a Citizen Spider-Man watch and have it engraved that says, "From one of your greatest fans," because I've always loved Spider-Man, and I think that personalized kind of gift would be just the kind of thing that would touch Peter Parker's heart, because he's very sentimental and sensitive. So that would be fun.
Yeah, and I think his Spidey sense would go off and be like, "Oh, it's an emotional sense. A good gift is coming his way." So good. Yeah, it's a great answer. All right, let's jump over to Katie. Who did you get in the comic book Secret Santa exchange?
Well, I drew Lockjaw's name, and because he's such a good boy, I'm going to get Lockjaw a subscription to Chewy.com so that he can get all kinds of gourmet organic dog food and a new dog bed that's got like nice imitation wool in it, that fleece stuff. I'm going to get him the subscription has like a lot of toys so that we can play together, and then I'm going to surprise him with it and take him for a long walk and give him a lot of belly scratches. So it'll be a year-long gift of Chewy.com for my boy Lockjaw.
Something tells me that he likes that idea.
Who's a good boy? Yes, you're a good boy.
Once again, another promotion for Crimson Cowl Comics on YouTube, because that will be very weird in the audio version only. All right. Good answer there. We're going to jump over to Jim. Who did you get in the Secret Santa comic book exchange?
I don't know who I'm actually going to get, but I'm just going to make sure that I trade with everybody so I don't get Batman, because I don't want to try to buy something for the billionaire who has absolutely everything. But I'm afraid that if I do that, I'm going to end up with Lex Luthor anyway.
Yeah, I do like that little turn on the question there of doing what you can to not get Batman. So
For another promotion there too, if you do have Batman, you could get him do a donation to the Bat Conservatory in his name, and then you get a plush Bat figure that you could give him.
Be equally bad to get Tony Stark.
Yeah, you get it and just throw it over his shoulder, or say put it in the pile with the rest of them, and he wouldn't even open it up probably. So,
you guys got to get on the 2020 vibes. Those guys have a lot of things, but you know what? Maybe they need some experiences. So we have to give them an experience. Seem like they're wound pretty tightly. So I feel like we should take Batman to do some yoga, and then he's all this family. You're like, no, Bruce, just like do the breathing, okay? So we got to get them experience gifts. It's like a gift card, but more 2020.
Yeah, Tony Stark does have a lot of experiences. He jumps on his jet and goes to Paris, hangs out in a club.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe Bruce Wayne.
But you tried. It's the fact that counts.
Maybe Bruce Wayne could go on that spa day with Sue Storm. So.
With Sue Storm, there you go.
All right, Damon, do you have an answer?
I think I do. I think I'd like to draw Eddie Brock.
Interesting.
That way I could give him like a year's supply of like breath mints, some breath savers, some Altoids, anything. Because, when the symbiote venom comes through and starts eating bad guys, that's got to be some killer wicked breath. So you need some like industrial strength mouthwash and, like strong breath mints. And, he might appreciate something like that.
You might.
never know.
That's a pretty generous gift too. I mean, I know Dr. Kurtzstad, that Spider-Man watch is that's engraved is, going to be a pricey item, but I mean, a year's supply. I mean, that's
Or
Especially for Venom.
they might have like a breath mint of the month club or something like that.
And that's the perfect time to advertise the Breath Mint of the Month Club that we are sponsored by. If you use the promo code DAMON, DAMON, you can get 30% off your initial order.
Another shameless plug from the Crimson Cowl Comic Club.
Let's go to Breath Mint of the Month Club. I forgot what it was called already. .com/Damon. Good. All right, so that is going to do it for the letters page. And I think that's going to do it for our show. Little advertisement for next week, assuming that we'll be around. It is going to be the day after Christmas, so I'm not sure. Normally this could be stuff that talked about off air, but we do have a little extra time. So as far as, it doesn't have to be a concrete confirmation, but do we think we're all probably going to be, a good chance of coming back for the 26th?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean,
If I have to.
you have to. This is you're demanded. Not that there's a lot of stuff to run around and make plans for 2020 anyways, but just wanted to throw that out there in case there were any conflicting plans. Not that it's just, ends up being, me and the Deadpool head or something. So
That could be an interesting episode.
Probably would. Assuming everybody's shipments arrive, because there are delays in mailing, I am still waiting for crossover issue number 2, which had come out, what is that, 2 Wednesdays ago? Yeah, so I think that one is going to be still in the mail, but so right now we are planning for that on Saturday, but if that doesn't happen and the ones that are reading it, we can speak up about it, because we'll definitely hold it off due to those circumstances. So yeah, that is a possible club discussion for next week. And yeah, so I think that will do it for this week's issue. This whole time, I've been like a straw in a giant tacky cocktail glass, perfectly useful if it happens to be there.
I've been sitting here pondering the meaning of life. Have I, at the time of the Great Reversal, was I a sea creature that came onto land? Or was I a land creature that should have went to the sea but got confused and stuck it out anyways? At any rate, fly, you fools.
I've been or had too much coffee, man.
I have been and am the head of the shameless plug department for Crimson Cowl Comic Club.
I want a baby Grogu doll for Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
To be continued.